Mr. Christensen, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
Now, you've written a foreword to a book by the Czech President Václav Klaus, the book called Blue Planet in Green Shackles. It argues that policies being proposed to address global warming aren't justified by current science and are actually a dangerous threat to freedom and prosperity in the world. Can you just explain this argument?
Well, I think we're seeing a very one-dimensional debate around climate. First of all, there are many differing views on the science itself. And secondly, I think people underestimate the political and economic undercurrents to this debate. I think some of the more drastic proposals being considered would incur significant restrictions on economic growth. It would incur significant changes to the way we live our daily life. And my concern here is not so much to accept if such things are needed, but I don't think that the current debate are really listening to all arguments. And I think that we need to know more before we do drastic measures of the thought that some people advocate, at least.
I mean, do you doubt the theory of global warming itself? What aspects of the science are you unsure about?
I'm not a scientist, I'm just an observer in this debate, but I think what is concerning is that it's being portrayed as if you have a clear scientific consensus. Anybody spending just a minimum of time looking into that matter will see that that's simply not true. Whether one theory is better than the other, I think, is open for discussion. I think there are strong arguments that certainly it's not exclusively human activity that's causing any global warming, and it's even disputed whether global warming is currently happening. I mean, many people actually say that global warming hasn't occurred in the past decade, and I just simply think here that we have too weak a foundation for making very important decisions. I'm perfectly happy to be convinced otherwise, but at this point in time, I think we need to listen more. We need to let science do its work, and we need also to think a little bit more optimistically about humankind's ability to develop stronger technology in the future. We're sort of looking 100 years into the future, thinking that we have to solve everything here and now, which is a little bit equivalent to people sitting in year 1900 making decisions about future problems of our time, which I think anybody could see would be pretty absurd. So I'm not saying we shouldn't take this very seriously, but I am saying let's try to listen to all of the arguments. Let's not rush into decisions that could impact economic growth very significantly. Because one thing is for sure, that the one thing that has helped also the third world combat poverty, combat disease is economic growth, and we just have to think about what it is we're taking away here if we do things that will restrict our ability to grow as we otherwise could have done.
I mean, you're a man who's at the epicenter of the financial world. What's the relationships between finance and climate change? What's the link between trading and investment strategies and the climate itself?
I think clearly two things. If there are going to be significant climate change, of course that's gonna mean that allocation of capital will have to take that into account. Secondly, I think that there's obviously a link being construed between finance and climate change, which may not be as justified at the moment. For example, the talks about financial transaction taxes, etc., where really you are sort of arbitrarily saying that the finance sector should solve a general problem of society, I think could potentially make a very strong connection there. But at the end of the day, of course, the finance sector role is to allocate capital, and if there are significant changes in the way we should allocate capital that are associated to climate change, then that link is there. But that's the primary link to actually make rational decisions about where capital is best deployed.
Very quickly, sir, very quickly, in a few words, if you can, do you think the Copenhagen summit has been a failure?
I would reserve that judgment until the end of today. I think there's a lot of high-level politicians in Copenhagen today. President Obama is landing in about an hour, and I think there's a lot of people here that have a very strong incentive to at least come out with something that appears at some sort of important agreement. So I don't think you can, at this point, say what is the outcome going to be. Clearly, it's not going to be a legally binding agreement, but there will be something coming out of it, I think.
Mr. Christensen, thanks for joining us.